Kim Jong-un in China. On the eve of China's Victory Day parade, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has reportedly arrived in Beijing. It's his fifth visit to China and his first time attending a multilateral event. President Lee to make his United Nations debut. South Korea's presidential office says President Lee Jae-myung will travel to New York later this month for the United Nations General Assembly. He is scheduled to deliver a speech and chair an open debate. Exploring new growth engines. President Lee Jae-myung led a rare live broadcast cabinet session on Tuesday where ministers pitched proposals to jumpstart South Korea's sluggish economy. Good evening and thank you for joining us on this Tuesday evening. I'm Song Yoo-jin filling in for Kim Da-mi. We begin tonight in China. As expected, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is believed to have arrived in Beijing after nearly a 24-hour train ride in his armored train. Now, according to South Korea's spy agency, Kim is expected to be treated well by Chinese President Xi Jinping as he makes his debut at a multilateral event. Kim Do-yeon has our top story tonight.
What looks like North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's armored train has been spotted stationed in Beijing, signaling his arrival in the Chinese capital for the 80th anniversary of Victory Day ceremonies. This came in at 4 p.m. Tuesday local time after earlier in the day, the North's Korean Central News Agency confirmed that Kim had left for China on Monday. The military parade for the Victory Day, which is to be held on Wednesday 9 a.m., will be Kim's debut at a multilateral setting. His journey to Beijing, covering some 1,300 kilometers, reportedly took more than 20 hours due to the train's heavy armor and the state of North Korea's rail infrastructure. Seoul's National Intelligence Service briefed the South's lawmakers on Tuesday that Kim is expected to be treated at the same level as Russia's President Vladimir Putin.
He is expected to receive special treatment, including protocol and security, on par with that of Putin. The NIS projects that he will stand alongside Xi Jinping and Putin on the Tiananmen Gate rostrum during the September 3rd military parade. The NIS also anticipates a North Korea-China summit and a meeting between the leaders of North Korea and Russia.
Kim Jong-un is known to be accompanied by high-ranking officials including Foreign Minister Choi Sun-hee. There is also speculation that his wife Lee Seol-ju or his daughter Kim Ju-ae may be part of the delegation. Kim's official engagements are scheduled to begin Tuesday evening, ahead of the main military parade on Wednesday morning. A key point of focus is whether a trilateral meeting will occur between Kim, China's Xi Jinping, and Russia's Vladimir Putin. However, the NIS assesses that immediate three-way practical cooperation is unlikely due to international scrutiny. According to the agency, Kim's objectives include strengthening economic support from China and advancing security cooperation with Russia. The NIS also suggested the North Korean leader may seek Beijing's support in arranging another summit with U.S. President Donald Trump. While in Beijing, he is also scheduled to attend a cultural event on Wednesday evening along with approximately 20 other world leaders and representatives. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Now, before North Korean leader Kim Jong-un departed for China, he visited an ICBM research institute. There, he inspected production of a new high-powered solid fuel engine for such missiles. Our defense correspondent Kim Bo-kyung has the details.
Ahead of his journey to Beijing to attend the Victory Day military parade, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un visited an intercontinental ballistic missile research institute. There, he reviewed the production of a new high-powered solid fuel engine for ICBMs that he said would be used not only for the Hwasong-19, but also the next-generation Hwasong-20 ICBMs. This marks the first disclosure of the latest missile under development since the regime test-fired a Hwasong-19 ICBM last year, October. What's notable is that the new solid fuel engine has a maximum thrust of 1,960 kilonewtons, roughly 200 tons of force. One expert says the reason behind regime increasing the thrust of the engine is to develop a much stronger ICBM.
The Hwasong 18 and 19 used a 140-ton thrust engine. Now that's been upgraded to 200 tons. With more thrust, the missile can carry heavier and more powerful warheads, or even multiple warheads to hit several targets at once.
Kim highlighted the new solid fuel engine uses carbon fiber composite material. When solid fuel burns, it releases exhaust gases that give thrust to the engine. The nozzle where the gas comes out needs to withstand a lot of heat, and this is where the carbon fiber composite material is used.
Carbon composites are the best materials humans have made for withstanding high temperatures. North Korea probably got the basic materials from Russia and used those to develop their own advanced composites. This allowed them to create powerful rocket engines that they seem to be getting ready to use.
Kim showcasing plans for a new ICBM ahead of a trip to China where he will stand side by side with Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin shows the regime's will to go against the U.S. with its developed missile production systems. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
Now, back here at home, President Lee Jae-myung will address the United Nations General Assembly for the first time since taking office later this month to share his vision for peace on the Korean Peninsula. Now, he will also lead an open debate on artificial intelligence as chair of the UN Security Council. Here's our senior presidential office correspondent, Yoon Jung-min.
President Lee Jae-myung will attend the UN General Assembly in New York on September 23rd to address its 80th session.
President Lee will share with the international community the Republic of Korea's experience of overcoming a crisis of democracy and recovering from it. He will also present our government's vision and policies on key global issues, including the Korean Peninsula.
Lee is expected to lay out his vision for peace on the peninsula and resuming dialogue with North Korea. This as the leaders of North Korea, China, and Russia gather in Beijing this week for a Chinese military parade. Just last week, the heads of South Korea and the U.S. met and shared their thoughts on resuming dialogue with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Eyes are also on whether there will be another Trump summit, just 4 weeks after their first meeting, with U.S. President Donald Trump also set to address the UN chamber on the same day. This comes ahead of the upcoming APEC leaders meeting in South Korea's Gyeongju this October, where Trump is also expected to attend. And the meeting means more than just that for the South Korean leader, as he resumes multilateral summit diplomacy, 3 months after making his debut at the G7 summit in Canada.
President Lee will strengthen solidarity with the international community and carry out various diplomatic activities to enhance Korea's status as a responsible global power.
South Korea has assumed the rotating presidency of the UN Security Council for the month of September, and Lee will preside over an open debate on September 24th on AI and related global peace. He will be the first South Korean president to lead such a session as chair. The presidential office says it hopes this will serve to reaffirm Korea's global standing as a trusted partner and bolster its leadership in multilateral summit diplomacy. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
And staying at the presidential office, President Lee Jae-myung chaired a cabinet meeting today where a 2-hour discussion on South Korea's new growth engines was aired live. Take a look. The second of President Lee Jae-myung's cabinet meeting discussions to be broadcast live centered on ways to boost South Korea's economic growth. President Lee opened Tuesday's session by highlighting encouraging figures from the domestic economy.
7월 산업 생산, 소비, 설비 투자가 나란히 증가세로 전환됐다고 합니다. 현장 민생과 직결된 소매 판매의 경우에는 소비 쿠폰 지급에 힘입어서 29개월 만에 가장 큰 폭으로 증가했습니다.
But he also sounded the alarm over the country's weakening potential growth rate, which is already in the upper 1% range and projected to dip to the low 1% range by the end of the decade.
적극 재정 그리고 생산적 금융을 양대 마중물로 삼아서 신기술 혁신 지원, 규제 개혁, 산업 재편, 인재 양성 등을 포괄하는 범정부 차원의 종합 대책을 신속하게 수립해서 추진해야 합니다.
That said, the floor was open to the ministers to weigh in on the challenges and possible solutions.
Our economy is under strain from a shrinking workforce, weak investment, and stagnant productivity, driving down growth potential. We've also fallen behind in AI and green transitions, while U.S. tariffs are reshaping global trade, leaving not only smaller firms, but even major corporations struggling.
The finance minister noted that a significant portion of next year's 728 trillion won budget will go toward artificial intelligence development.
We'll invest in AI infrastructure to help businesses and universities expand adoption more quickly. At the same time, well-trained top-tier talent develop a homegrown foundation model and establish AI innovation hubs in Gwangju and Daegu cities, and Jeollabuk-do and Gyeongsang-namdo provinces.
Another focus was adapting to the changing export environment shaped by the Trump administration's sweeping tariffs.
가능한 범위 내에서라면 수출 국가 다변화에 좀 주력을 좀 해야 될 것 같아요. 새로운 수출 국가 개발이나 수출 품목 개발을 좀 집중 지원하는 방식으로 차등을 두거나 아니면 아예 우선 지원하거나.
For example, the Korean wave has fueled strong demand in related sectors in the global south. We will work to reduce dependence on the U.S. market and enable our small and mid-sized firms to expand exports in these areas.
Tuesday's discussion reflected the president's commitment to prioritize stabilizing people's livelihoods and finding new growth engines following his back-to-back trips to the U.S. and Japan. The new political season has officially begun with the first regular session of the National Assembly under the Lee Jae-myung administration kicking off on Monday. For politics and diplomacy, our National Assembly correspondent Moon Hae-ryun joins me in the studio to tell us more about the legislative battle now underway. Welcome, Hae-ryun.
Good afternoon, Yudin.
Thank you for joining us. So, Hae-ryun, first tell us about the schedule ahead of the regular session of the National Assembly.
So on Monday, which was yesterday, the National Assembly began its first regular session under the Lee Jae-myung administration, and it's a 100-day journey that will see lawmakers tackle crucial issues and contentious legislation. So the session, which runs through early December, will be a defining moment for the Lee Jae-myung administration as it seeks to enact its key policy goals.
현재 국가적으로 수많은 난제들이 도사리고 있습니다. 민생 경제와 개혁 과제 추진에 있어서 여야가 함께 지혜를 모으고 국회와 정부도 그 길에 힘을 모으는 책임 정치가 필요합니다.
The schedule is packed for the month ahead. We'll hear speeches from the ruling Democratic Party on September 9th and the main opposition People Power Party on the 10th. And these addresses will lay out their respective visions for the nation and set the tone for the coming months. From September 15th to the 18th, a full-scale government questioning period will take place where lawmakers will grill cabinet members on everything from the economy to foreign policy.
Right, so leading up to this, we saw the ruling and main opposition party clashing over various bills that the ruling DP pushed through. So I want to ask you, what can we expect in this regular session?
That's right, and we can expect them to clash in this regular session too, as the DP pushes forward with its agenda while the PPP vows fierce resistance. And here's what the PPP's chairman had to say about the ongoing conflict.
There are many urgent issues affecting people's lives, but the National Assembly has not been doing its job, and I apologize to the public. While today marks the opening of the regular session, it seems that the ruling and opposition parties are still too far apart to work together.
And the most significant clash is expected to be over the national budget. The administration and the ruling party are pushing for a big spending budget of 728 trillion won, which is roughly 522 billion US dollars, that they say is essential to revive the economy. They believe that despite short-term fiscal challenges, prioritizing economic recovery through a substantial injection of funds in key areas is essential to stimulate growth and improve people's livelihoods. However, the PPP has vowed to make major cuts. The opposition has zeroed in on several key targets, including the budget for a local gift certificates, a signature policy of the ruling party. They're also demanding a significant reduction in special activity funds allocated to powerful government agencies such as the Presidential Office, the police and the prosecution, citing a lack of transparency.
Right, and before we let you go, Arirang, aside from the budget, what other areas can we expect as a source of conflict between the DP and the PPP?
That's right. So as you've said, the budget isn't the only source of the conflict, and the National Assembly in this regular session is set to become sort of a battleground of a set of highly controversial legislative proposals that's often referred to as the three reforms that the DP has made a top priority.
We will handle the three major reforms, the prosecution, media, and the judiciary, on schedule without delay. Reform is all about timing.
And first on the list is prosecutorial reform aimed at curbing the power of the prosecution service. The ruling party argues that the current system gives prosecutors too much unchecked authority, leading to political bias and abuse of power. The opposition, meanwhile, views this as an attempt to undermine the rule of law and protect powerful political figures. And next we have media reform, with the ruling party proposing legislation to hold broadcasters and news outlets more accountable for what they claim is biased reporting and misinformation. Opponents fear that this could be a direct assault on press freedom. And finally, there's judicial reform, with proposals to change how judges are appointed and hold them more accountable. The ruling party sees this as a way to ensure fairness and prevent political influence in the judiciary. The opposition, however, worries it could lead to the politicization of the courts. And in the coming months will determine not only the direction of the Lee administration's policies, but also the future of political cooperation, or the lack thereof, in South Korea.
All right, our National Assembly correspondent Moon Hae-ryun, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And staying at the National Assembly, confirmation hearings for the nominees for Education Minister and head of the Financial Services Commission were held on Tuesday. Now, ruling and opposition party lawmakers sparred over the qualifications and past comments of these nominees. Cha Yoon-kyung has more.
Lawmakers from the ruling and opposition parties sparred on Tuesday during the confirmation hearing of the nominee for Education Minister and Deputy Prime Minister for Social Affairs, Choi Kyo-jin. People Power Party representatives questioned Choi's qualifications and criticized him for past posts on social media supporting conspiracy theories about the sinking of the Cheonhan-ho warship, his drunk driving conviction, and derogatory remarks he made about the Busan region, while Democratic Party lawmakers defended Choi by highlighting his career as a three-term superintendent of education in Sejong. Choi offered an apology for all of his shortcomings. At the same time, a parliamentary committee held a confirmation hearing for the nominee for chairman of the Financial Services Commission, Lee Euk-won. The hearing was adjourned for 10 minutes after the ruling and opposition party lawmakers sparred over the potential dismantling of the Financial Services Commission. Main opposition People Power Party lawmakers insisted that, quote-unquote, the nominee acts as a demolition foreman sent to tear down the FSC, citing government and ruling party discussions on breaking up the country's top financial regulator. In response, ruling Democratic Party lawmakers argued that the reorganization, quote-unquote, has yet to be finalized and that the hearing should continue. After the confirmation hearing was resumed, Lee said he will revamp policies and regulations in a way that supports the role of financial companies.
차윤경, Arirang News.
Now, in other news, a major shakeup hit South Korea's military leadership today. All 7 four-star generals who were in office during last December's martial law declaration have been replaced. Choi Soo-hyung walks us through the changes.
The government has announced a major reshuffle in South Korea's military, replacing all 7 of its 4-star generals. Kim Jong-un, currently head of the Strategy Command, has been nominated for the top post of chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The Defense Ministry said Kim has held key positions in the Air Force and is considered the best fit as an expert in joint operations and force development. Kim will go through a confirmation hearing before his appointment is finalized, and if approved, it would mark the 2nd time in a row for the position to be held by someone outside the army. Kim Gyu-ha, now head of the Missile Strategy Command and described by the government as an expert in defense strategy and joint firepower, has been named the Army Chief of Staff. Kang Dong-gil, a specialist in maritime operations and currently head of the Joint Chiefs Directorate of Military Support, will lead the Navy. In the Air Force, Son Seok-lak, recognized for his expertise in air operations and overseas education and training for the armed services, will serve as Chief of Staff. Other key appointments include Kim Sung-min as Deputy Commander, ROK U.S. Combined Forces Command, Chu Sung-won as Commanding General, Ground Operations Command, and Kim Ho-bok as Commanding General, Second Operations Command. With this, all 7 4-star generals who were part of the military leadership at the time martial law was declared last December have now stepped down. The Defense Ministry said the full replacement is aimed at bringing fresh leadership and quickly stabilizing the armed forces. Apart from Kim Jong-un, the other 6 were appointed by President Lee Jae-myung after a cabinet meeting on Tuesday. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News.
Now, finally tonight, on the cultural front, picture iconic stars from the 80s and 90s like the Spice Girls and Kylie Minogue teaming up with K-pop idols to reimagine their greatest hits. What happens when these two worlds collide? An Sung-jin shows us.
You've K-popped it.
What would it be like if the Spice Girls and Boyz II Men were K-pop groups? That's what a new reality show aims to find out. The show Kpopped was released last Friday, made by executive producers Lionel Richie and Megan Thee Stallion, and co-produced by CJENM. K-pop artists including ITZY, ATEEZ, Kiss of Life, and STAYC are paired up with global music legends like Kylie Minogue and Kesha to recreate some of their most iconic songs. 8 episodes have been released on Apple TV+, and every episode highlights the cover performance together and the precise K-pop style choreography, alluding to the title, Kpopped. Not only were popular songs like Savage, Say You'll Be There, Can't Get You Out of My Head performed with a K-pop twist to it, but the artists also tried wearing hanbok, tasted Korean food, and visited local spots. One expert says the show could give viewers a deeper understanding of the unique aspects of K-pop.
K-pop has a strong fandom, so not only does it have a persistent demand, but now they are trying out more new things.
According to Flix Patrol, which ranks TV shows and movies on the mainstreaming platforms, Kpopped ranked 4th for its global popularity and topped the chart in Korea. Following the craze for K-pop Demon Hunters, maybe Kpopped could be the next piece of K-pop content to make waves on streaming platforms. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Under the heat, 5 to 40 millimeters of showers will fall in the Jeollado provinces and western parts of Gyeongsangdo provinces tomorrow. In addition, light rain is expected in the central parts of the country, including Seoul, around dawn on Thursday. As we enter September, tropical nights have cooled down in most areas. However, heat wave warnings are still in place around the south and Jeju Island. In these areas, it feels close to 33 degrees Celsius. As the heat continues for the time being, there will be frequent showers under the heat as well. Tomorrow morning, Seoul, Daegu, and Gyeongju will start off at 23 degrees, Chuncheon at 21 degrees. Highs will top out at around 30 to 32 degrees, very similar to today. Similar temperatures will continue throughout the rest of the week. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
And that is Newscenter for this Tuesday. I'm Song Yujin in Seoul. For all of us here at Arirang, thanks for watching and good night.